Hi, everyone. I'm Carol Massar again from Bloomberg Business Week on Bloomberg Radio and Bloomberg TV. Delighted to have with us Jeff Jones. He's the president and CEO of H&R Block. Jeff, it is so good to have you here when we're talking about everything that's going on in the financial sector, especially when it comes to innovation disruption. And you know, so many of the conversations are dealing with things like crypto, blockchain, stablecoins, decentralized finance, DeFi, robo-advisors. All of this we know is important, but in many ways, financial innovation can be so much about financial inclusion. And I saw a Fed report that was out over the summer. It mentioned 18% of the U.S. population are unbanked or underbanked. We have to think of innovation as inclusion. You agree with that?
Oh, I completely agree with that. And thank you for having me. I think you just hit the highlights of all of the hot innovation. But just to set the context a little bit, because I'm guessing a lot of people don't even know this, but H&R Block was a federally chartered bank for about a decade. And even after we divested in 2015, we've continued to offer a lot of financial products to our clients. And then I think when you put the tax event on top of that, we literally have millions of hours of conversations every single year with our clients. We serve Main Street America. And for them, they're on average, they're getting a $3,000 refund. But getting that right, given the stakes are so high, that money's already spent for them. They're 53% of them plan to spend it on bills and to pay down debt. So there is a lot going on in the market for sure. But when I think about what's really happening on Main Street, the needs are still quite basic.
Well, and this is and something that resonated with me when we had our conversation last week in planning for this, is that you say normal for so many of the people who use the H&R Block platform, normal is being cash strapped. That's just the way of life. And I think, we have so many conversations about, individual balance sheets are so strong right now. There's been all of the benefits from the government because of the pandemic. But yet, for so many Americans, normal is just a rough way of life when it comes to their financial well-being or lack thereof.
Well, there's no question. And we did see a spike during the pandemic, the famous stat about the number of Americans that can't handle a $400 surprise. Right. We've seen, daily balances in savings accounts grow. But the Fed just in the last couple of weeks have also said that's trending down again. And so we did see consumers get flush with cash, by their definition. But I think we're on a way to return back to normal. And that normal is trying to figure out every single day how to build just simple financial healthy habits to get by. And, I said to you, they don't view themselves as in trouble. They just view this as a normal way of life, looking to get by and looking for any tool or tip to help them maximize, their cash flow and what they're trying to do every day.
What's great about your platform, Jeff, is that you do tap into a segment of Americans. And I think it's safe to say middle income, maybe lower income, but it's millions of Americans, right? Safe to say. Right. What do they tell you that they really need in terms of financial products, or what innovation would really help them in their situation? Because you guys are really tapping into it in the services that you're continuing to roll out.
Well, that's exactly right. And if you think about the tax refund, again, about $3,000 on average, we try to help them think about that as a jump start for the new year, as opposed to, ending the prior year. And what they tell us they need are just simple, practical tools to help them get started. That could be rounding up, saving a little bit more, working with partners to help that refund dollar go further. So there are a number of little things, and, they're not asking us for big innovation and breakthroughs. They're asking us to help them every single day take a step forward.
So, as you said, a tax refund can be a jumpstart for Americans. So talk to us about, how you think about the company. You guys recently laid out Block Horizons 2025. So you are doing some long-term planning when it comes to small business, when it comes to financial product innovation, and to the experience on your platform. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you think about what your community needs, what they're telling you need, and the vision you've set out for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So last December, we announced what we call Block Horizons. And this was really about the next phase of our transformation. We're just coming off the best year in over a decade for the company and really building momentum in terms of how we innovate and expand and diversify our offerings. Today, we serve about 2 million small business owners already, tax, bookkeeping, and payroll. In financial products, as I mentioned, today we're offering short-term loans, refund advance, the Emerald card is a reloadable debit product. And after the first of the year, we'll be launching what we call today Block Money, which is really a big move for the company into the fintech space and offering this very tangible product to help build these healthy habits for our clients. We're digitizing the whole business. Obviously, that makes sense. And that's really the theme of what Block Horizons is all about. But we're gaining great momentum in the business and serving more clients in more ways.
Tell us a bit more about Block Money and how it works.
So Block Money is really building on the success of our Emerald card franchise, which today is the third largest reloadable debit product in America. We have millions of clients loading billions of dollars onto that product. But we've always positioned Emerald Card as all about the tax event, literally a mechanism to load your refund. And then we haven't done much more than that. And Block Money is really built to solve some of the most important needs we hear in the market. Things like saving a little bit more, making your dollar go further, starting to work on credit building. And if you just take a big step back, there are about 35 million underbanked customers in America, and about 8 million of them are at H&R Block. And so if you really think about 35 million in America, 8 million at Block, they're already coming to us at least once a year, revealing their most intimate financial situation in their tax return. So they look to Block to help them, and we can't wait to launch Block Money again just after the first of the year.
Jeff, a big part of what you guys are doing too is you're thinking about this customer, and so much of what plagues them and makes it difficult for them to kind of get out of the hole, if you will, often is the high fees that they pay, whether it's overdrafts or whether it's when they do get credit, the rates are just off the charts. So it's very difficult for them to get ahead. You guys consciously think about this. I mean, it sounds so simple when we're talking about stablecoin and crypto and all these high-tech things, but just something as simple as that would be incredible innovation for a huge swath of Americans.
Well, it really is. And, when I look at the companies I study today, there is so much innovation happening in this space, yet there still tend to be a lot of hidden fees and high interest rates. Even today at Block, with our Emerald Advance product, which is a short-term loan generally around the holiday seasons, that has a 36% APR, which is supported by the CFPB because of the low rate. Our refund advance product, which is literally an advance on somebody's refund, has no fees and no interest. And we're able to do that because our core business and tax preparation has a lot of built-in fixed cost, and we can leverage those costs in a wider portfolio of products to deliver value for the customer and to also continue to grow our top line and earnings as well.
What's the repayment or fault rate on something like that? What's the insight you can tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a real key with our banking partner at Meta and the underwriting we do. We feel very good about what our loss rates are on both products. And with the refund advance in particular, we're lending to people who are clients. And so we know from history what their refund is likely to be. And so for them to get that advance cash really helps them at a time of year when cash matters most.
Right, and the refund's going to come in, so in terms of a
That's
default,
right, exactly.
It really doesn't exist.
Correct.
It's interesting. Well, talk to me a little bit about small business. You mentioned 2 million small business customers. I mean, we can't say it enough about how important small business is. I think there's nearly 47% of our private workforce is small business. There's more than 32.5 small businesses across the United States. It's so important to our economy. It's an important part of your business sector, and you guys definitely are big on that. Gig economy, too, has got to be things that show up on your platform. Let me first ask you, how does it feel like the small business industry? Does it feel like it's come back? It is coming back after the pandemic. Is it healthy? Is it still struggling? What are you seeing on that front?
Well, absolutely. And it's so funny if you think about it this way, but job quits are almost at an all-time high, and new business starts are also, trending at record highs. So I don't know if it's a one-to-one correlation of people quitting and starting businesses all the time, but we're definitely seeing a recovery. That said, as we see every single day in the world, labor market is putting a lot of pressure on small businesses. Access to capital is still very hard for many. We see that uniquely among Black-owned businesses. We have a program that's a great example of when our purpose and our products come together. We set a goal for ourselves to impact positively 500,000 small business owners over the next several years and really help them with financial acumen. We have a program right now with the Urban League in Kansas City where we're helping Black-owned businesses by providing free financial coaching and bookkeeping and tax preparation, and even starting to award micro grants of $5,000 to $8,000 to help them in a short-term way. So small business is the backbone of our economy, and we absolutely see recovery happening.
Well, and Wave Financial, right? This was a big part of your thinking and strategy of how you build out small business for you guys over at H&R Block. What was it about Waves? And it's interesting, and I did a little bit of reading about it. I mean, they're disrupting that small business market, and they were really offering, free accounting, like really doing it in a different way. What was it about, Waves specifically that you knew this fit in with the strategy of the build out of what you guys wanted to do at Block?
Well, when we took a step back and thought about our small business strategy overall, in a lot of ways, it was like consumer tax. There are people who are doing this work themselves, bookkeeping, payroll, et cetera. And then there are people that want to turn it over to an expert. So our strategy has Block Advisors, which is our business for those that want someone to do all the work for them. And Wave Financial, based in Toronto, is really the DIY product. And you're absolutely right. If you think about all the small businesses today, none of them got in business to, do accounting and taxes, right? But the tax man does cometh. And so they have to be ready for that event, whether they like it or not. We see that most small business owners, they wear a lot of hats. They want to maintain control. And as a result, every dollar matters, especially when they're getting started. So most of them are doing bookkeeping, with a shoebox and Excel spreadsheet. And Wave is a great value for them because it gives them 100% free accounting. And then now with Wave Money, a 100% free business banking account. So think about every charge made on that business account automatically reconciling and categorizing in Wave accounting. And then with the push of a button, exporting a year's worth of records to Block for tax. So that's an incredible value. We make money in the invoicing and payroll businesses and on interchange, but that core platform is 100% free to small business owners.
What's the activity that you've seen on that platform in terms of growth? It's pretty significant.
It's very significant. And I think, Wave's growing 30+% a quarter. And I think a big part of that is
that top line? Is that top line?
Top line. Yeah, top line growth. And, they were growing fast before the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, they really slowed down. And this is great evidence of the recovery because we see their business recovering back to pre-pandemic levels, really on the strength of that value proposition when every dollar matters.
Jeff, one thing I wanted to ask you, you were briefly president of ride sharing over at Uber, and I'm just curious, you've been in kind of more traditional industries, but certainly Uber, we talk about the Uberization of the world. Nobody can doubt, whether you like them or not, the impact that they have had on our world. How did it shape how you kind of think about what needs to be on your radar? And especially as you think about H&R Block, it's about tax, right? We have to pay for it. It's a little boring, forgive me. But nonetheless, you are thinking about, but it's a necessary part of our world, and you're building it out. So how does maybe your experience at Uber kind of add to what you're doing or how you are thinking about where this company needs to be 50 years from now?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question because I was only there 7 months, but there is no question that that company helps see possibility in transportation worldwide like no other. And I think that relentless focus on the customer, the power of data, constantly thinking about what's possible is really all the spirit of what we're up to at Block in our own transformation. Tax isn't something that most people look forward to. We do, obviously, but the average customer doesn't. And so the other thing that I think Uber did that we're absolutely doing is, Uber talked about democratizing transportation and making it available to people that otherwise didn't have the means. And when we think about serving Main Street America, whether it's consumer tax or small business owners or the financial products, that expertise, that combination of digital tools and capabilities, those are all things that I think I were inspired by at Uber and at Target and, other great places in my background.
So financial innovation, how do you think about something like crypto or blockchain or kind of how the world is changing? How do you think about it? What are the discussions you guys have at Block about it and how it might eventually impact the platform?
Yeah. I think innovation for customers happens on different horizons, no surprise. And I think the near-term horizons for us and our customers, crypto certainly plays a part in terms of how we help people with their tax planning based on transactions, the rise of retail investors in general, obviously, we think about from a tax perspective. But then in terms of our platform, we're looking at so many things right now from what's happening to build credit with debit products, what's happening with buy now, pay later, what's happening with instant payouts and payroll. All those are trends in addition to blockchain and crypto and others. But I'll still come back to, at the end of the day, our customers want us to help them maximize their value because the stakes are very high. And they might be interested in all of these innovations, but if we don't deliver value for them, really nothing else matters. So we have to pay attention to this ecosystem, short-term and long-term, and make sure that that customer is getting value from H&R Block.
No, it's a really good thought. And I do also think about, you speak about paying attention. Who do you pay attention to? Is it certain companies? You mentioned the buy now, pay later, which all of a sudden you think about, it's not a new concept, but it's back in a big way. What are the either companies or trends that you really focus on right now?
Yeah, well, those are definitely a few of the trends. I'd probably add to that contactless payment. I think about my own behavior during the pandemic and how quickly I started going to apps that had Apple Pay built in and how fast you're able to get your meal and transact. I think that's obviously an incredible advancement. And there's so many companies doing amazing work today. And I think being externally focused and paying attention, it just matters to innovation. I love what I see happening at Shopify, the fintech part of their business, but also the SaaS part of their business. A company called Dosh, helping consumers get more value for their dollar by having this ecosystem of rewards and loyalty, I think is incredible. Maybe a couple companies I love right now that aren't pure fintech companies, but I look in the restaurant industry at what Toast is doing and building this just incredible platform for small business owners and restaurateurs. Look at Chipotle. I think their app is incredible that combines payment and rounding up and loyalty and all in one place. So I just think it's an incredibly exciting time to be in this industry. And I think those are just a few examples.
Well, and just to wrap up here, because I think about where we started and we're talking about just so many things that are going on right now when it comes certainly to the financial industry and fintech. What is it that you think for those entrepreneurs and innovators who are out there coming up with new ideas and figuring out different ways to do it? What do they need to keep in mind, especially when I think about where you and I started, that innovation, yes, but innovation can be something as simple but so significant as inclusion?
I'm afraid it's trite to even say it, but obviously remaining just incredibly customer focused. There's so much happening in the world. It's easy to be distracted by what other companies are doing or what competitors are doing, but staying focused on the competition, obviously learning from experimentation, But something we talk a lot about at Block is having urgency and patience. We have to be urgent. Sorry, I was just going to add, we have to be urgent in understanding and solving problems, but we also have to be patient to iterate and learn and let things play out over time. And so getting that balance right can be hard, but it's very much a part of the culture at H&R Block.
Well, and it's interesting, too, reading so much about the culture and some of your releases that you guys also remind us that, especially since we're so technology focused right now, that you need human expertise combined with technology to really create those really significant solutions. Jeff Jones, thank you so much. Learned a lot.
Thanks,
I really appreciate it.
me.
And taxes are not that boring.
We love taxes.
We love taxes. All right, be well. Jeff Jones, CEO of H&R Block.